All right, we are live.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our once every 4-month public focus group meeting. We appreciate you all being here today with us in person, and those of you that are joining us on Facebook Live. We have a presentation for you. First, I want to start off with telling you a little bit about what we do at the DCO. When I was running for office, that was the first thing I had to do was to explain to people what a district clerk's job was and try to educate them about our office. We are the custodians of the records of the court system, and we maintain those records and make them available to the public for viewing online. We accept all new and subsequent filings for all of the courts. That includes the civil, criminal, family, juvenile, and numerous specialty courts. And we provide authorities with the orders for them to execute. We are responsible for securing all trial evidence. That's something that a lot of people are unaware of. So we have a warehouse over on 5900 Canal where our records archives are kept, as well as where we store this trial evidence. All the trial evidence has different time frames for which it has to be maintained. For example, a misdemeanor case, evidence does not have to be maintained for nearly as long as a capital murder trial evidence would have to be maintained. We process passports downstairs on the first floor of this building. We also have implemented a process where we're doing 3 Saturday passport fairs for the public out at our 5900 Canal Street location so that people can come and get a passport process without having to take off time for work or having to take their children out of school in order to get passports for their children. We are the ones that assess and collect all fines and fees for the court system, and we are responsible for the jury summonsing process. That's the duty that most of people in the public eye know us for. If you get a jury summons, it comes from our office, and other than that, if you're not an attorney or a party to a lawsuit, you have very little contact with our office, so not many people know exactly what it is that we do. But we do have a budget of $39 million per year. We have a staff of about 500 employees. We process over 80,000 filings a month, and we call roughly 10,000 to 12,000 jurors each week. So it's a busy office. Our budget did increase a little bit this year. That's primarily relating to 3 factors. One of them is that we had 16 staff members that were a part of the criminal e-filing process, which were funded through a grant. That grant ran out last year, and criminal e-filing did not stop, so we had to transfer those into our general fund and get extra money for that. We also implemented a system where our probable cause court staff could be paid time and a half when they work on weekends and holidays. Previously, this had been a part of their regular work week, and they had to work those weekends and holidays at no additional pay. And we also increased the meal allowance for our jurors from $7 per lunch to $10 on the 3rd day of service and thereafter. It's one thing to eat a sub sandwich and pizza one day for lunch, but it's another if you have to do that for a 3-week trial. So for those, if you're here longer than 2 days, then you get a little bit better allowance for the meals. These are the updates that I want to go through in today's presentation. I'll tell you a little bit about the child support payment, cite and release program, some different cost-saving efficiencies that we have implemented this year. We have a new website coming. I want to give you some updates on the construction that's going on down here in the courthouse complex, give you a little bit of updates about what's going on with jury, and also our new e-juror system. Our child support payment update, we no longer collect child support payments. In the past, this office did do that, but now that's handled by the Attorney General's office. But we do hear in our 4D courts cases in regards to child support payments. And that's done in our Family Law Center. And there are 2 payment kiosks where people, after they come out of those court hearings, are told they have to go make a payment. And one is located here in this building, and the other one was located in the juvenile building. We were getting lots of complaints about the fact that the court hearings were in the Family Law Center, but the payment kiosks were in other buildings. So we've reached out to the Attorney General and working with them to get one of those payment kiosks located to the Family Law Center where it will be most used. The payment kiosk in this building, you can access it without having to go through security. It's before the security lines. so it's available and easy in and out. We do accept cash or credit card only, and that if you need any help with those issues, the phone number's there on the screen that you can call for assistance. Our site and release program is a big issue you may have been hearing about in the news lately. It's a new program that's been implemented where select low-level misdemeanor offenses can receive a citation and not be taken to jail. The first court hearing for this new program will be tomorrow, February 26th, in a new court located at 49 San Jacinto. These are the offenses that are covered by cite and release. Criminal mischief up to $750, graffiti up to $2,500, theft of property $750, theft of service $750, contraband in a correctional facility, and driving with a suspended driver's license. These are the offenses that are eligible to be considered for the cite and release program. With the new system, a defendant is that bypasses the magistrate in the probable cause hearing. A police officer stops someone, they cite them for one of those offenses that we just went over, and then they call into the district attorney's office to confirm that they're eligible for the cite and release program for this particular offense. If they confirm that they are, then the police officer gives them a citation, releases them at the scene. We create the case in our system, and then they have to go before a statutory court at this special hours court, the first one being tomorrow, where they will review it for probable cause and be assigned to a regular court for their hearing. So when the police officer stops them, instead of taking them downtown to jail, they give them a ticket just like you would if you got a speeding ticket, and then you're free to go on your way by signing a statement saying that you commit to appearing in court at this special new court that has been set up at 49 San Jacinto. Now I want to go over some of the cost savings that we've implemented in our first year in office. One of the these are things that the attorneys use primarily, but they're things that save tax dollars, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about these. The first one is e-issuance. When someone files a lawsuit and the other party has to be notified officially of that lawsuit, citation papers are issued and served on the other party. Previously, the attorneys would prepare that request. They would have to send someone down here to this building to pick up those papers and then take them out and serve them to the person on the citation. Now we have a system in place where they can request that those papers be emailed back to them. Then they can attach the supporting documents, forward it on to the process server, and bypass having to send someone down here to pick them up, or the other alternative was that we would mail them to you. But if we mailed them to you, you had to pay printing and postage costs, and you had to wait for them to arrive in the mail. This way you don't have those costs because you're going to print them out yourself and there's no postage involved. And it reduces congestion in our courthouse, which you may have heard a lot about the long lines and security. You may have incurred that today when you came into our building. It's not so bad in the afternoons, but it's really rough in the mornings when you come in here and it takes a long time to get through security. So this is an extra feature that is there to save the attorneys and their clients money and to save time and processing for everyone. Our e-notices is another one that we just implemented fully in December of this last year. And by law, we are required to send notices to attorneys of all the cases that have been signed in their, all the orders that have been signed by judges on their cases. And previously we were sending out about 4,000 postcards every week to the attorneys to notifying them of these orders. And now we've converted that to sending it via email. The only thing that's going out by paper now is for pro se filers, or if the attorney does not have an email address on file with the state bar. So there's a lot of savings recognized here. It's manpower savings, it's postage and printing savings, and the attorneys are getting notified much quicker because these emails go out every night of what was signed that day. Another program we're piloting right now is called e-hearings, and what this does is it allows an attorney to go online and schedule the hearings in their cases 24/7 online, instead of what was previously happening where they had to call the courtroom, speak to a court clerk, and get on the calendar. We got a lot of complaints about I try to call and nobody answers the phone. If they're in court, they're not going to pick up the phone. So this is a way that they can do it after hours, anytime, 7 days a week, and they'll get an email with a confirmation when the hearing has been scheduled, and then it's up to them to notify the other parties of the case that the hearing's been scheduled. But it's a slow process for us because we personalize it for each and every judge. They get to tell us what days of the week they will hear, what types of motions, how long they will allow for them, how many they'll have on any given day. And so when an attorney goes in there to set up that hearing, it'll pop up with available times and dates that they can choose from. As I mentioned, we are in the process of redesigning our webpage. We have up here where you see on the left-hand side the current version, and on the right-hand side what the new one will look like. We're rolling out what we call the facelift version of our website redesign on March 1st. And when that happens, this is the way it's going to appear. And we're trying to get the word out so people don't think we've been hacked and that something's going wrong, because it's going to look so different that day than it did the previous day. So help us spread the word that when you see that new design that is intended, it's not a problem. And we'll be following it up with further redesign efforts where we're making it more mobile friendly. It'll appear on your phone or your tablet and without you having to scroll side to side to see the whole screen. And we've got a lot of things that attorneys can do online now, and so this is very important that we get that functionality there where it's more mobile friendly. Attorneys can generate forms and some e-file right there from the courtroom, and so this ability to do it on the phone and tablet is very important. I wanted to give you a little bit of update about our jury assembly plaza. You may have seen some things in the news about this recently. We've been very frustrated by the process that we, 2.5 years after Harvey flooded our building over there, that we still had not begun reconstruction. Well, as of last week, that changed. Construction has begun. We estimate that it'll take about 12 months for us to get back in there. And this is really good news for everybody because we have been in temporary space over in the admin building where it's very crowded. We can only seat about 300 jurors at a time, where with this building, once we get back into it, we can call up to 1,000 at a time, which makes it much more efficient, gets the juries out to the judges when they want them. Right now, everybody wants a panel on Monday morning at 8 o'clock, and we can't satisfy that desire. And if you want a panel on Thursday at 8 o'clock, you're probably going to get it, but you won't be able to get it on Monday at 8 because we've only got 300 people to call from. So this is something that we're excited about. It'll be a much more pleasant experience for our jurors, as well as much more efficient for the courts in moving cases through the system. The big change on this is that this part right here is an addition to the existing building, and what that is it's allowing additional queuing space, where if you're called to jury duty, you can stand inside in the air-conditioned space instead of outside in the elements on the steps waiting to get through security. And another big advantage of this is that right now, when jurors come into our building, they're not screened through security. So when they start to go to the courtrooms that they've been assigned to, they have to go through security at that time, and then we end up with a big backlog of maybe 3 panels standing in line to get through one security screening station. And what that does is it means the judges know that it takes a long time to get them, so they ask for them before they really need them. And then if they do end up being that first one in line and they get over to the courthouse pretty quickly, they may end up standing in the hallway waiting for the court to get ready for them for long periods of time. This way they'll know once I ask for them, they can be over here pretty quickly, 10 or 15 minutes from the time you ask, and they hopefully won't call and have their bailiff pick them up until they're ready to bring them into the courtroom. The Criminal Justice Center is the other project that was flooded during Harvey and is under construction right now. It has been under construction for most of, probably about a year now, and about half of the floors have been already rehabilitated. The other half are still going. One of the big complaints they had in this building before the flooding was that the elevators were completely inadequate for the crowds that go into that room. And you should see the steps right now early mornings when the lines are queued along the block, around the block, trying to get into that building. And the big problem is not the security screening, it's they back up in the elevators. And it was bad before, but it's worse now because we are improving the elevators, And so they're taking down 2 elevators on the upper floor bank of elevators and 2 elevators on the lower bank of elevators at a time to put in new elevators that will be much faster, more efficient. But that means during that construction phase, we have fewer elevators than we had before, and it was already a problem. So it makes the access to the building very difficult right now. The elevators we have were no longer supported. You couldn't get parts to repair them when they went down, and that's why they're having to be replaced. But elevators seem to be the biggest obstacle in getting this building back up to speed. It's apparently a very long process to order and get an elevator installed, because there is no stock of elevators. There are special orders for each and every one that's made. In addition to replacing the existing elevators with the higher speed elevators, they're also adding a bank of elevators to the front right corner. This will be restricted for frequent visitors who have passes, and staff and judges, for the people that do not have to go through the screening. And there will be a similar bank of elevators on the back left corner of the building, again, for people that have the badges and don't have to go through screening. So we'll pull off a lot of people into those new elevators, as well as jurors who have a juror badge that show they've already been through security. They'll be able to use these as well, leaving the remaining ones for the public, and hopefully that means we'll get people through and they won't be standing in line waiting for elevators so long. We're also increasing the number of screening stations on the first floor, doubling the space for screening stations. So between the additional elevators and the additional screening spaces, we're hoping the flow of traffic will be much faster. And this building is also increasing the queuing area so that you don't stand on the steps waiting to get through if there is a backup in a line for screening. Additionally, they have moved a couple of functions to the first floor that are areas that are frequented by the public a lot and may not need to go upstairs at all. Our criminal collections department will now be on the first floor. It was previously on the 3rd floor. So if someone's coming in to make a payment, they don't have to get on an elevator at all. They can go straight into criminal collections. They will have to go through security screening, but then they'll be on the main floor and never get on an elevator, and then they're back out. The other piece is the cafeteria was on the 2nd floor. It's being relocated to the 1st floor. So if you're coming in there to go to the cafeteria, you never have to get on an elevator. Or if you're in the upper floors, before you had to take the elevator down to the 1st floor, switch elevators, get on the other bank of elevators to go up to the 2nd floor, and that'll be eliminated as well. This building is scheduled to be complete in August of 2021, so we're getting close. It's about, as I said before, it's about halfway reconditioned already, and they're working on the remaining floors at this point. Our floor, which is the 3rd floor, will be one of the last, because the courtrooms are obviously more important to get those up and running than the support staff. So we're anxious to get our people back in there. Right now we're spread out in several different buildings. Supervisors aren't in the same area as the staff they supervise, and so it'll be much more functional for us once we can get people back in there. I'm going to give you a little bit of our jury stats. In 2019, we summoned 534,700 jurors. 15.8% of those envelopes that went out were undeliverable. Houston is a very mobile society, particularly after Harvey. There's been a lot of movement from one place to another. And we pull our jury summons from your driver's license or your voter registration. And if you move and you don't update those addresses, then you're not going to get your summons when we call you. Another 24.2% of that 500,000 claimed an exemption or a disqualification. Exemptions are things like you have a child under 12 that would be without care if you served, or you're over 70 years of age, or you're a full-time student. Those are a couple of them. There are about 8 altogether. Those are voluntary exemptions. You can claim them if you like. You can serve if you like. The disqualifications, there's about 7 or 8 of those as well, and those are things that if you fall into those categories, you're not qualified to serve, and you can't serve. And that's things like being a resident of Harris County, being able to read and write English. You could tell me another. I'm drawing a blank on them right now. But you have to be a citizen in order to serve on a Harris County jury. Then we had 37.7 who failed to appear. They weren't disqualified, it wasn't undeliverable, they just didn't show up. And the remaining 22.3% of what we mailed out actually showed up to serve in our jury room. That makes it very expensive for the county. If we need 220 jurors, we've got to send out 1,000 summons to get them. That's costly. And so we're looking at ways of improving this percentage. We think we can do better, and one of the ways we're going to do it is through our e-jury system, which I'll tell you about in a minute. This is a Harris County map that shows you where our appearance rates are good and where our appearance rates are low. The red ones are where they're under 9% of the people that we mail to actually appear in court. And in low-income areas, people move more frequently than in high-income areas. So they're more likely not to get delivered to begin with. Those people are more likely to have an hourly paid job that if you show up for jury duty, you don't get paid that day. So it's a financial hardship. Right now, we pay jurors $6 for their first day of service. And if you park in the right garage, your parking costs $6. But if you park in the wrong garage, it may be $20. So you don't make anything that day for showing up for jury duty. So it can be a financial hardship. The dark blue are the ones where we have the highest response rates that are over 30%. The light blue or medium blue is over 20%. The light blue is over 10%. So we've got pockets of areas that we want to focus on to try to increase, and we've got a community service campaign that we're working on developing right now, where we can focus on these areas where it's very low and try to encourage people to appear, make them aware of why it's so important to appear. When you don't serve, we run the risk of not having reflective jurors. We have poor representation that can be unfair determinations. We want our juries to be reflective of the very wonderfully diverse Houston population, and right now it's not. When people don't show up for service, we run out of jurors. We can't have a panel sent to a courtroom when they're ready to go to trial, so justice gets delayed. Makes it longer to process cases through. Justice delayed is justice denied. People that are in jail waiting for their trial date will have to wait there longer. So again, it's important that we get these through as fast as we possibly can. And it also makes us burn through our jury wheel faster. As I said, our jury wheel is made up of anyone in Harris County with a driver's license, a Texas ID, or a voter registration. And so you're in that wheel. Once it gets down to where it's used up by about 85%, we reset it. And if we have to reset it more frequently, the people that actually show up are going to get called more frequently. So that's one of the reasons we need more participation so the same people don't have to serve over and over. Our e-jury system is our solution to this problem. This is an issue that I campaigned on. It's my signature issue. It's what I'm most devoted to making happen as quickly as possible. With an e-jury system, which many counties in the state of Texas and across our nation already have these systems in place. And they have all been shown to dramatically increase appearance rates and to reduce cost. So we need to get on board. We need to get into the times and get our service electronic. With an e-jury system, you'll receive your assignment electronically. You can report to jury service later in the day. Instead of having to show up at 8 o'clock as you do now, you can show up at 9:30 when the courts will be ready for you. So it makes it easier for people to appear. You don't have to commute during rush hour traffic time. It reduces congestion in the courthouse because we don't have everybody that's coming in to work and everybody that's coming in for jury duty trying to get on the elevators at the same time. And it really will increase appearance and decrease costs for us. We're going to implement this in 3 phases. We're determined that we're going to do it without it being a disruption on the court system. That is going to be an improvement to the court system, and hopefully without too many hiccups along the way. The first phase of it we anticipate will be ready to launch by April 1st. And what that phase will do is when you get your jury summons in the mail, just like you do now, it's going to push you to go online to register for jury service. Statistics show us that 86% of all Harris County households have access to the internet. But on that jury summons, it will say, no internet. You can still fill out the form just like you did in the past and show up on your day of service. same as you always have. But if you do have internet service and you go online to complete the questionnaire, it will take you through a step-by-step process so you can claim any exemptions that you want. You can go through the disqualifications to know if you're not eligible to serve, and you don't need to come downtown to do that. You do that on the computer at home before ever making the trip down here. It will give you the option to reschedule online. We have this now, but very few of our jurors actually go online to take advantage of it because they don't know it's there. The new summons will really push you there to make sure that you're aware that that option is available to you. And when you go online to register, we'll get your email address and your cell phone number. And we will confirm we've received your registration. As soon as you complete the form online, we'll send you an email a week beforehand telling you here's what all you need to know for your jury service that's coming up shortly. Then we'll send you an email and a text message the night before to remind you again that you have jury service tomorrow and where to go. The added advantage of this, if for some reason we find out we're going to have fewer requests than we anticipated and we don't need as many jurors as we called, we can send you an email or a text and say your jury service has been canceled, you don't need to appear. And same thing with when we have natural disasters like Harvey, when the courts were shut down for some period of time. You will know you don't have to appear because the courts are closed. So we'll send you an email out notifying you of that. In phase 2, and I believe phase 1 is going to have a dramatic impact on our appearance rate. Right now you get that jury summons in the mail and it tells you to appear in a month, and it hopes you remember. We hope you remember. Many people aren't that organized that you get something in the mail one time and you remember 30 days from now, I've got to show up this day. With this, you'll get those reminders, and that engagement of back and forth between the juror and our office, we think will make a significant impact on appearance rates. But in phase 2, we're going to ask our judges to get involved and ask them to request their panels the day before. Right now, they request their panels at 8 o'clock the day of, so it's not much of a change there. And they're all sitting at their phones trying to call in as quickly as they can so they'll get in first in line to get a panel. So they can do it the day before. Then we know how many panels we're going to need the day of, and we can cancel more of them if we found out trials have settled or they've been postponed, they're not going to trial, so we don't need those people to come in. And that is a good thing for everybody. It's the most frustrating thing I hear from jurors is when they come down here, they have to be here at 8 o'clock. They're not familiar with downtown. They don't know where to park. It's kind of intimidating and a little bit scary because you've got this threat over your head that if you're not in the room by 8:15, you're going to have to reschedule and do it all over again. They get here, particularly right now while we're in the temporary quarters, they can't find the jury assembly. They park and they're like, now where do I go? With our new jury assembly plaza back online, it's a very distinctive building. It's right here in the center of the complex, and it's easy to spot. So they'll know better where to go, and that'll make that part of it easier too. But by getting this notification, it should go better too. When they ask for the panels the day before, we'll know how many we need. We can cancel those that we don't need. And then in the third phase, which is full implementation, this is where some of the extra nice features come into play. You'll be given a calendar of, say, a 30-day period, and it will ask the juror that's registering, go on here and mark out the days you're unavailable to serve. You don't get to pick the day you serve, but you can mark out days that you're unavailable. And it'll be programmed into the system that if you try to mark out all the days, they'll just reassign you to another 30-day period. And if you try to mark all out there, it won't let you. So you get one chance to get another 30-day period, and after that you have to leave some days there that you can be assigned to, and it will have a maximum numbers of days that you can eliminate. I think will improve appearance as well. When people have a little bit of control over when they serve, they're more likely to serve. Some of us have obligations, say every Monday I have to do this, or every Friday I have to do this and I can't be there. So if you can eliminate those days and have a little bit more input into when you do serve, we think more people will serve. And then the final phase of it will tell you which court you're assigned to. We've been talking with our judges a lot lately about this process, and Some of the other systems tell you to report directly to the courtroom, but we've got some issues in Harris County that we feel like it'll still be best if you report to the jury assembly room and let the court's bailiff pick you up there. You'd still be able to report at 9:30 or 10 o'clock or whenever the judge said they needed you, but instead of going straight to the courtroom, you'd go in there to wait to be picked up by the bailiff. Our courthouses, the hallways are too narrow to allow for seating. So if you go there and they're not ready for you, there's no place to sit. And so we're thinking that by staying in the jury assembly room, you can sit in the comfort of the chairs, you'll have access to vending machines and some food options, you'll have internet access, and you can be comfortable while you're waiting for them to come pick you up. And we won't have the congestion in the hallways of people standing around waiting to be called into the courtroom. This is our old jury summons on the left and our new revised jury summons on the right. And I know you can't read it from where you are probably, but right here it tells you to go online to register, and has a link that you can, of where you need to go to do it. Right now, if you go on, we tell you can go online to claim exemptions or disqualifications or reschedule, but we don't tell you where to go. It's just go to our website, hope you find it. This will give you a specific link that you go directly there. Key in your juror number that's on your summons right here, and it'll pull up your registration. So it's a very easy way to follow it through, where you can do that registering, claiming exemptions, rescheduling, or disqualifications. And then we've got steps in here about what all you can do online, and we've got the most pertinent information about the fact that you can ride Metro for free. If you show your summons, you get a free ride on Metro to downtown for jury duty. We show you the discounted parking. There's one garage where you can get that $6 rate, but you've got to go to that garage to get that rate. And we talk about the free shuttle, which will only be an issue for the next 12 months because it's transporting people from the garage over to the administration building, which is like a 4-block walk. After we get back in the jury assembly, it'll just be across the street. We won't need the shuttle, but for now, we want to make people aware that you can ride the shuttle. If it's raining, if you have mobility issues, you don't have to walk that 4 blocks. So we think this will have a big effect of driving people to the website, and we're shooting to get 75% of the people who receive a summons to go online to register for service by the end of the first year from when this is implemented. I wanted to mention briefly about our historical records room, which is on the 2nd floor of this building. We have some really great treasures that document the history of Harris County and Houston in our historical records room. It's open 2 days a week for 4 hours each day, as well as by appointment. So if you'll call this number, you can schedule a visit, and they will be happy to show you what we've got on there. If you're a history buff, it's a very interesting process to go through. It's amazing some of the things that we have down there that have been preserved for our history. We are also working on preserving more of our historical documents. There's many of them that are very fragile. They're old and they're crumbling, and we want to get them preserved so that we don't lose that history that we have forever, because there's no copies of this. We have those original documents, and that's it. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You want to hear what's going on in the district clerk's office, we invite you to watch our posts, and we will make you aware of new developments and where we are on the process, what's happening with our new jury summonsing process and what it's doing to our appearance rate. We'll be making periodic posts about that to keep you informed of where we are. We're at Harris County District Clerk, and it's HC District Clerk on Instagram. We've decided after a year of doing these focus groups, we have 4. Each one meets once every 4 months, and it's the public group, paralegals, attorneys, and judges. And we rotate them so that we have one group meet each month. It's kind of difficult getting downtown if you're not someone who is a frequent user of the district clerk's office. So what we've come up with as an alternative way to give you this information is to do periodic posts on our Facebook page with videos telling you about updates, instead of asking you to give up 2 hours of your day to come down here once every 4 months. It'll be a way that you get little snippets along the way all the time as something is happening, instead of just once every 4 months. So this is what we think is going to be a better way for us to provide feedback to the public of what we're doing in the office and keep you informed. But the one thing we give up by that is the two-way communication, which is something that we definitely want to keep. So we invite you to message us on Facebook, email us, call me, whatever. We do want to hear back from you when you see or know something that you want to make a recommendation of how we could do things better. So be sure that you do communicate with us. And that's the end of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, we'll be happy to take those. Nope.
I do.
Hi, Constance. How are you?
I am great. Thank you guys for having me. I received, you answered my question regarding the jury summons improvement. I think that is absolutely wonderful. That was good to hear with your numbers and how you had it broken down. That was something that would definitely help us as we're talking to the constituents about the importance of actually responding to your jury summons. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you guys are putting it online, I agree. I think that will probably get a more influx of people having a tendency to want to participate. I'm hoping so. I would definitely bring that back to our meeting just to give them a general overview and an update. Different meetings that I attend, such as this one and other ones, it's my job to come back with the data and with new information, anything that needs to be improved or questions that need to be asked. So with that being said, I received a couple of text messages wanting me to actually ask these questions, and this is from judges.
Okay.
One of the things that they asked me to find out about, they were saying something about the reports, and so let me try to get it because they were typing it and I was trying to get the gist of it. So what they said was they're now no longer able to receive their reports. They have to pay $2 a page, the clerks, something to that effect. I know I received that from 2 different judges.
Okay.
And so I wanted to get a clear answer and understanding myself because I'm not a judge. Mm-hmm. And those were things that they text me and say, hey, I know you be in those meetings. I need for you to find out X, Y, Z, and why is this happening? So I'm quite sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay.
The way the courts are structured, the judge has a court coordinator and they have a court reporter that reports to them. Mm-hmm. There's a bailiff in there. There is the sheriff's employee, and there's 2 court clerks in there. That's my employees, and the court clerks who report to the district clerk's office and are responsible for the data they enter into our system have what's called exception reports. If they have work that needs to be corrected, we have a data control section in our office who reviews everything that's going into the system to make sure that everything is properly labeled and that it's scanned in correctly and that a document didn't get scanned and it turned sideways so it only went halfway through. So these reports are things that we use internally to make sure that where there are issues like that the supervisor gets with the employee and makes sure that they correct it. And they're internal documents. They're very hard to read. And you don't really know what you're looking at unless you're very in tune to what these particular codes mean and who's doing what and whose responsibility is it to fix a particular issue. So they're misleading if you don't really know what you're looking at. And they're internal work product. They're used for personnel evaluations, which is a very private personal thing as well. And they don't impact anything that's going on in the courtroom. And so we said these are documents that are for the district clerk's office. They're internal documents. They're not public documents, and therefore they're not available any longer.
The other thing that I received from another judge, there was some mention of, and I wanted to kind of get an update on, as it relates to the staffing as such as the bailiffs and the shortage of clerks and the rotation of clerks and how often it's done. So where are you guys as far as the courts being properly employed, I guess, with the different clerks for each particular judge and or bailiffs. If is that still like an issue? I know before that was mentioned to me before a couple of months ago, and now that it's come around to the actual meeting, I told them that I would ask that question. So I don't know if that's you or someone else. So I wanted to know, how are we looking as far as properly being employed with the clerks and the bailiffs for the actual courts?
The bailiffs and not me. That is, like I said, that's
right.
an employee of the sheriff, and
Right.
so I can't address the bailiffs. As far as the court clerks are concerned,
Mhm.
we are fully staffed.
Okay.
We do have floating clerks.
Mhm.
With 500 employees, someone's always on vacation, someone's always sick,
Okay.
someone always calls in unexpectedly and is not going to be there. So we have what are known as floating clerks to fill into those vacancies. And we also have, if a lead clerk is out, then we'll pull a seasoned assistant clerk to go in and fill that role, and then put someone else in the assistant spot. So there's a shuffling of personnel. Our court supervisors all get here very early in the morning when people are calling in unexpectedly because I'm sick today or I had a flat tire, and they're shuffling people around to make sure that every court is covered and got someone in there by the time they get ready to have court. And I did just get a request for an additional floater in the family courts because they're extremely busy with a lot of activity going on in those courts. But we're fully staffed, and we've got the people that we need to staff all the courtrooms. It may be someone different on occasion because of some of those issues, and we do have the floaters, but we're fully staffed.
Okay. So I am assuming the different courts with, as it relates to the training and all of that, that's pretty much, if you're a floater, you have to pretty much know how to work every single court, no matter the different type.
All of our clerks are dedicated to either the criminal courts
Okay.
or the civil courts, and in the criminal courts, they're either felony courts or misdemeanor courts, because things are different in the courts. Family is very different than the other courts. So they're very specialized, and so we're not pulling a family court clerk and putting her in a criminal court.
Okay.
It's the family court has to maintain within their clerks to cover all the family courts. The civil courts has to do theirs with their people to maintain all the civil courts. You're not pulling them from other sections. And it does take quite a bit of training if someone decides they want to make a switch. They've got a lot to learn in order to do that. Yes?
We have a question on Facebook.
Okay.
Thank you for this presentation. Once we are notified by email or text that we are not needed for a particular case, will we be summoned again at a later date to be a juror for a different case?
No. If you have been called and we send you a text or email saying the case is settled, you're no longer required to appear today, your service is complete, and it's not like we're going to call you again for another case in the next couple of weeks. Your service will be complete.
And I guess my last question, I heard you reference you're going to be starting a community campaign. Can you go into a little bit more detail? Has that already started? What are the logistics or specifics as how that campaign will roll out?
Okay. It has started in the idea phase.
Okay.
We're generating the ideas of what we're going to do and where we're going to do it. We want to have some billboards in the areas of town where we have low participation. We're got a meeting with some of the commissioners to see if they want to partner with us in order to fund some additional billboards in their areas over what we can fund. We're going to have some posters, which hopefully we'll be able to put up in some buses or different areas where people see them in addition to the billboards. We'll be doing some public service announcements that will be out in anybody that we can get to cover those. So it's going to be a very comprehensive campaign that we hope to launch in May.
Okay.
Any
And
other
so
questions?
This one here will be, as far as in person, this will be considered the last official meeting. After today, they will all go to the Facebook, the videos, and just inboxing if there are any specific questions or if a specific meeting needs to be held or requested, I should say.
That is correct. Now, we
Okay.
will continue to have our professional ones for paralegals, judges, and attorneys in every 4 months in person. And
Okay.
if there's someone who would like to get added to one of those groups, because we're doing away with the in-person ones for the public, we'll be happy to add to that invitation list.
Okay.
So if you'd like to be added to like the paralegal group, we can put your
Right.
name on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes for the simple reason, pretty much for whatever reason, I've been identified as the point of contact person with handling certain meetings and information that needs to be brought back, anything that they feel that we need to act on or maybe inquire further about. So
And we appreciate your
yeah.
participation and being
Yeah.
here for these.
Yeah.
So we'll be happy to add you to one
Okay,
of those other groups.
that'd be great.
The other option that we want to make sure that everybody is aware of is that we are happy to come out and speak to any community or neighborhood group at any time, whether it's myself or Devontae Hill, who's our community outreach liaison. We'd be happy to come out and speak to any of your groups.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not,
That
thank
is
you for
it.
being here. We appreciate you all.